They say every battlefield has its ghosts, but some don't just linger, they march. And if you ever walk the woods of Chickamauga after sundown, you might just hear the faint sound of boots in the mist, moving in step, steady and silent. Welcome to U.S. Civil War history, where we dive deep into the strange, forgotten, and mysterious stories from America's bloodiest conflict. Tonight's tale isn't just about history, it's about what refuses to stay buried beneath it. So stay with me till the end of this story, because what happened at Chickamauga still leaves visitors trembling even today. And if you enjoy exploring these haunted corners of the past, go ahead and subscribe. It helps us bring more untold Civil War legends to life. To understand why this place is said to be haunted, we have to go back to the fall of 1863, to one of the most chaotic battles ever fought on American soil. The Battle of Chickamauga was supposed to be a Union victory. After taking Chattanooga, General William Rosecrans pushed his army south into the tangled forests of northern Georgia, hoping to crush the Confederate Army of Tennessee. But those woods had a way of swallowing men whole. The trees were thick, the terrain confusing, and the fog rolled in so dense that soldiers said you could lose sight of your own rifle barrel. When the fighting began on September 19th, it was absolute chaos. Regiments became lost in the undergrowth. Officers shouted orders no one could hear over the thunder of musket fire. Sometimes entire brigades fired on their own men, mistaking blue for gray in the smoke. By midday, the forest itself seemed alive, every direction flashing with gunfire, the air filled with screams and the crack of breaking timber. The soldiers said Chickamauga didn't feel like a battle. It felt like being trapped inside a nightmare. On the second day, September 20th, the Confederates found a gap in the Union line and poured through it, sending the Federal Army reeling. Men ran blindly through the woods, chased by invisible enemies. Units scattered and vanished. And yet one part of the line refused to break: General George Thomas's troops, who stood firm on Snodgrass Hill until nightfall. Thomas would earn the name the Rock of Chickamauga, but even he couldn't hold forever. When the sun went down, the battlefield fell silent. Tens of thousands of men were dead or dying. Chickamauga Creek ran red that night. Soldiers later said the mist didn't just drift in from the valley, it rose from the ground itself, thick and heavy, carrying the smell of gunpowder and blood. And in that silence, strange things began to happen. Union survivors claimed they saw lights moving in the trees long after the campfires had gone out. Others swore they heard the sound of drums far off in the woods, not from the living but from those who never made it out. Some said they saw figures moving through the smoke, their uniforms tattered, their faces pale, marching in perfect silence. At first it was dismissed as exhaustion or fear or grief, but as weeks turned into months and then years, the stories didn't fade. They multiplied because Chickamauga wasn't done with them. This is where the legend begins, of a phantom regiment that still marches through the Georgia woods, long after the war ended. A ghostly army caught forever between the living and the dead. It began with sentries posted near Snodgrass Hill, the same high ground where General Thomas made his famous stand. One moonless night, around 1875, a guard from a visiting veteran group swore he saw movement in the mist. He raised his lantern, and there they were, a column of soldiers emerging from the fog, uniforms ragged but faces pale as moonlight. He called out to them, asking what unit they were with. No reply. The men kept marching, boots making no sound, muskets on their shoulders, eyes fixed straight ahead. The guard said they passed within yards of him, and then faded, one by one, into the darkness. At first, people laughed it off. Old soldiers, too much whiskey, imagination running wild. But soon more men began telling the same story. Local farmers riding home late at night claimed to see a long line of figures crossing the open fields, always heading toward the same patch of woods, the ground where the 21st Ohio had made their desperate last stand. Sometimes the witnesses said they could hear faint drumming, steady and slow, like the heartbeat of a forgotten army. Sometimes there was nothing but silence, just the fog curling over the grass. As years passed, the legend grew. A Confederate veteran visiting the site in the 1890s told of seeing the same pale figures on a misty morning, walking straight through the trees. Others spoke of flickering lantern lights moving across the ridges where no living man was. Whatever they were, no one could explain it. But everyone agreed on one thing. Chickamauga had not forgotten. Before we move on, let me know in the comments, do you believe a battlefield can hold on to the spirits of the fallen? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're still with me, thank you. Your support truly helps our channel reach more people who still care about remembering this forgotten past. Stay close, because the next part of this story goes even deeper into the mystery of the Phantom Regiment of Chickamauga. As the time passed, Chickamauga turned from a place of mourning into a monument. In 1895, it became one of the first national military parks in the United States. Families came to visit, veterans returned to remember, and historians came searching for the truth. But many left with stories that sounded more like nightmares than history. Park rangers began to hear reports of ghostly drums echoing through the woods at twilight. Tourists claimed to see a single soldier in blue standing motionless among the trees, staring straight ahead until he vanished into the fog. Some even spoke of a figure with glowing green eyes wandering the fields at night. They called him Old Green Eyes, a spirit said to roam the same grounds where the dead still marched. Some thought he was the ghost of a fallen Confederate officer searching for his men. Others believed he was something far older, a restless soul that existed long before the war. But those who saw him said that wherever the glowing eyes appeared, the Phantom Regiment was never far behind. Locals grew used to the stories, a flicker of light on the road, the sound of a horse trotting where no horse stood, the faint ring of steel in the dark. And yet, every generation added its own witness. Soldiers from later wars, park visitors, even a few skeptics who left convinced that something walked those grounds after sunset. Chickamauga wasn't like other battlefields. It had a presence, heavy and watching, as if the land itself was remembering what happened. Some tried to explain it. Scientists blamed swamp gas, fog, or reflections of headlights. Psychologists said it was trauma, the mind replaying scenes of violence too deep to forget. Spiritualists said the answer was simpler, that the energy of so much death leaves an imprint that never fades. And maybe all those ideas hold a piece of the truth. Because when you stand among those trees, surrounded by monuments to the fallen, it's hard not to feel that the air itself is listening. Whatever the explanation, the legend of the Phantom Regiment endures. Some visitors describe hearing the steady rhythm of boots marching over gravel. Others claim to have seen bayonets glint in the moonlight, only to disappear as they approached. There are stories of cameras refusing to work near Snodgrass Hill, batteries draining, or the faint hum of voices in the recordings afterward. Each account different, yet all the same at heart, as if Chickamauga still breathes with memories of 1863. And maybe that is what draws people back. The thought that the past never really dies here. The uniforms may have faded, the weapons turned to rust, but the echo of that battle still moves through the trees. Some say the phantom soldiers are marching home. Others believe they're still fighting, trapped in an endless loop. Perhaps, in their minds, the war never ended. If you've ever stood on a battlefield and felt a chill that you couldn't quite explain, you're not alone. Many who visit Chickamauga speak of the same uneasy feeling, as if unseen eyes are watching from the shadows. Maybe it's history reaching out, reminding us of the price that was paid. The truth is, whether you believe in ghosts or not, Chickamauga remains one of the most haunted places in America. The soldiers who fought there gave everything, and the land remembers. So the next time you walk those quiet paths at dusk, and the wind starts to whisper through the pines, listen closely. You might hear it too, the steady rhythm of a regiment marching into eternity. Here at U.S. Civil War History, we keep these stories alive not to chase ghosts, to remember the people behind them. If you enjoyed this journey into the mist of Chickamauga, make sure to subscribe and stay with us for more forgotten legends and mysteries of the Civil War. And tell us in the comments what you think the Phantom Regiment really is, a trick of the fog or something far more enduring. Thank you for watching and for keeping history alive with us. Until next time, keep your lanterns lit and your ears open. The past still walks among us, and sometimes it marches.